Just Connect TV, streaming live. Just Connect TV is your entertainment and educational channel. We broadcast authentic content that will inspire, empower, and stir up the potential and positive energy in you. Just Connect TV, streaming live. Ever felt the need to learn how to play a musical instrument or improve your music skill and never knew where to go? Just Connect School of Music is the place to be. We offer professional training in music sight reading, piano, drums, guitar, saxophone, bass guitar, and vocal training. We are located at Eprin Square, 3rd floor, room 26, opposite Buruburu Police Station. Just Connect, building worship. Get yourself a high-quality branded hoodie, t-shirt, caps, umbrellas, you name it, we got it. You order, we deliver. Just Connect. Just Connect TV, streaming live.
Hello viewers, this is Just Connect Online TV. On your show, My Story, I'm joined by Mr. Njuguna. We'll get to know more about him, and I believe that you'll be encouraged and soldier on with life. Karibu sana. How are you, Mr. Ndung'u?
I am very fine.
Yeah, you can tell the viewers who you are and what you do.
Karibuni sana the viewers. My name is Ndung'u Njuguna. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. That's what I do in every day of my life.
Thank you so much. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
If we go down the memory lane, who is Mr. Ndung'u and how did you start life? And you can tell us your background. If you don't want to give us your age, but you can tell us from when you are young, how are you and your family?
Ndung'u Njuguna here is a man who was born many years ago, and maybe people they say that life starts at 40. For me, I'm past that, so I am living. Okay. And I am born in a family of 8 children. That is 5 boys and 3 girls, and I am the 6th born of the family.
Wow.
Yes.
How was it growing up in that family?
Growing up in that family has been very good because one, I was brought up in a Christian family, and growing when you are five boys and 3 girls, you can see that is a total of 8 people. And it was exciting as I was growing back in the village in Muranga, and you just grow like any other boy together and all that. And with many things, the issues in Muranga in terms of going to fetch water, taking care of the cows, going to school, going for a long distance. It was fine growing there. Yes.
When and which school did you start? How did you start your schooling?
I can remember very well. My mom took me to school, and I started in nursery school. That is way back 1983. And I remember that nursery school, we had one teacher, and the teacher was called Cecilia, and she used to help us to sing the songs. As allowed 12 when it was reaching, we could sing the song like Nasikia sauti, Nasikia sauti,
Sauti ya mama.
Sauti ya mama. And you'd be eager to going home. And that's how my life is. And I went to a primary school called Githegi Primary School. That is in Ngoroine sub-location, Gaichajiro location, where I started my school. And it was very good being there. I still remember very well from standard 1 how it was.
And was it close to home, Ama? You used to walk, or you could have been taken by a school bus.
It was the place was a bit far. Probably it would be like 4 kilometers or close to 5
Wow.
kilometers every day walking.
To and fro.
To and fro. To and fro. And in fact, you could walk even going for lunch, which was a window of 45 minutes to 1 hour. So you'd run 15 minutes and 15 minutes coming back and 15 minutes of eating. And that was the journey.
And there was no school bus.
There was no school bus. Actually, seeing vehicles, probably you'd see there were very few vehicles in the village. And in fact, even the loads going to the home, even the vehicles could not reach. There was no school bus at all. There was no even shoes. Leave alone the school bus. There was no shoes to wear. So you are just walking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you are running actually. And now that education has reformed quite a bit, or on a large scale, the nursery school, how would you recollect how the experience was? Was it as formalized as the way it is now?
No, I know there are many changes that has come with the Ministry of Education, but I see what is happening currently with the CBC, that it's like we are going to answer what we went through in terms of being involved in many activities within the village. You are told you are fetching water, you are coming with water to school, you are cleaning the classrooms. Exactly. And I can say that there are many things that have changed, but I can see us somehow going back to that system, but with a lot of modification.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Going further, how was your transition now from primary to high school?
Before probably talk about me going to high school, I would say that when I was in the primary school, the Githegi primary school, I can tell you that I was doing my best. And I remember when I was in class 2 that I had a friend of mine, and this friend of mine called Bernard. I still remember him. We still keep in touch. We used to we used to compete with him in terms of the mathematics with our teacher who used to teach us, and I would get 98, he would get 96. Next time he would get 96, I would get 98.
Wow.
And I went through the primary school, and I remember that when I did my KCPE, I believe that was in 1990, and I did well, and I reached very good marks. That was about 400.
Wow.
And because that time I think the marks were going up to 700, and I decided that I needed to repeat so that I get the right mark. Wow. the kind of the school that I wanted to go. So I did my KCP twice.
How was the second time?
The second time was fantastic. I was the best in the school. I was the best in school, and I remember I got 514 marks.
Wow.
And now I graduated now to a high school, and that was my life. But also maybe I would mention that when I was growing up and going to school, my grandmother, that's a mother to my mom, and her home was near the school.
Okay.
So during the break time, I would go out. We were out to get out of the gate. I would go and help her, especially when it was mangoes time, the maembe. I would help her to sell the mangoes.
Or sell, not just
eating. Of course, I was consuming. Yeah. And also in the evening, most of the time I would help her to go and fetch water in the river. And then after that, then I would now go back to our home.
Okay.
Yes.
And did this have any conflict with the parent now that you did not get back home, or you had to communicate first that you'd pass by your grandma's?
First, I was very close to my grandmother, and all that I was doing with the permission of my parents, so they are aware. And because I was an obedient boy by that time, that my mother would not have any problem with me. So I would do that, and I would go home, and I would still do some work at home.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And before you go to your high school life,
Yes.
did you have sibling wars and fights? Like, how was it with that sizable family?
One thing is that I told you that I was the sixth born in the family, or I am the sixth born.
Yeah.
And being a sixth born, you can see almost towards the end.
Yeah.
And my two brothers, my elder brothers, that time they were already big.
Yeah.
I remember one was actually my teacher in primary school in class 6.
Okay.
So therefore, as we were children, so there was no much rivalry. And then it also depended on how we looked at things.
Yeah.
And I was more of a person who would mediate in the family.
Okay.
So therefore, I would work very well with my brother, the one who is now the seventh born, and our last born, the sister, would work very well.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
would work very well with them. Of course, when there's rivalry, our mom would come in and sort out the issues. Whoever has a problem would receive what is necessary to him. And I can tell you, that even I say about myself, my parents have really contributed to where I am and who I am, because the discipline, I can tell you, getting it from the parents.
Brought that up, how was discipline around that particular time? How were parents disciplining their children? Because it has been an issue in our days now.
I can tell you, as you are going to school or coming back, any parent who knew your parent could discipline you. Actually, he will not wait for you to go to be disciplined by your mother. If you are caught up doing something that is wrong, that person will discipline you there and there. And also tell your mother or your father, and also you get more and more disciplined. And like nowadays, that people have their human rights, you should not touch my child, even in school. That time there was nothing like that. I think it's like we belong to the community.
Exactly.
We belong to the community.
Do you feel like there was something we lost? Was it a better way of parenting? Was the community more integrated than it is now? How would you compare the two ways of parenting then and now?
One thing that we have to appreciate is that there is many changes that have come, and a change is always good.
Yeah.
But looking at how we were brought up, you could see that the communities were more cohesive. They were more together, doing things together. And unlike now, where it's like everyone doing his or her own thing, and this has contributed, because that time, if for example, you are going somewhere and you see another person coming and you are seated, automatically you would stand. Nowadays, if you are seated, even a young child, you cannot tell the child to stand up because of another person who is studying. Yes.
Yeah, it is a challenge.
Yes.
How was your academic life after you did this good performance? Were you able to join a high school? And did you get your choice of school, the one that you had targeted?
Yes, I would say that after my primary school, I went to a high school called Gaishajiro High School. It's a boarding school. It is still within the division, the Kadara division. It is somewhere that actually you could walk from home. Of course, you would walk more hours, probably like 5-6 hours. And it was one of the schools that I had admired going to, and I got a chance to going there.
Okay.
So I went to a school that I liked.
Okay.
Yes.
How was school life then through the 4 years?
The school life, remember that as I was brought up in a village, the school life was not easy, because of course when you were in the high school, you'd see some students being brought up from the city center. You know, they are brought up with the vehicles. You are just walking with your mother and your father. And the high school, that Gaichajiro High School, even when I went there, it is important that I say that I was there for the first year and the second year. And I did not finish in that school. But the school was good. Of course, the high school, they used to have this issue of when you are first year, or rather you are Form 1, there will be issue of you are fearing the Form 2, the Form 3. But the school was fine. I was able to integrate with the people, with the other students there. Yeah. So for me, it was easy for me being with other students there. I remember even there's a time there was an issue with the Form 1s. And for me, I had some friends in Form 2 and Form 3. So they were able to tell me. So nilikuwa ninaweza kujipanga.
I remember as you mentioned something that has brought something to my mind about the issue of monorization, that particular period.
Yes.
And it's like you said the school was better on this, because those particular times schools were there were issues that actually was affecting even the children at that particular time. Two things probably you can address. The issue of, was that an issue for you, and how was the peer influence? Did it affect you in any way?
One is that the monorization was there in that school, but it also depended on how you are able to integrate. For me, I was able to integrate with the other students, the Form 2. Of course, there were some students who had come from our village, so I was able to identify with them, and they introduced me to their friends.
Yeah.
So even when there was a lot of monorization in the school, for me, I cannot really say that I was really monorized. There was even one incident that the Form 2 and Form 3, they had planned. Now, this is the night we are going to beat up the Form 1s. And one of students who was Form 3 informed me, tonight they are going to happen something. And he told me, when it comes to the night, what you do, you come and sleep in my bed. So that when they are, because they had marked the beds, so when they are coming, they will not see you. And you know, they will not put on the lights because they are fearing to be seen.
Yeah.
So at that night, I remember very well, when they started shouting me, I left that bed, I came to this other bed. And when they will start looking for me, they could not get me. When the Form 1s were being beaten and getting out of the dorm, for me, I was still there. Then at one point, I went under the bed, and I stayed there. Then when things cooled down, I just walked slowly, and I left the dorm. Yes.
Were there consequences to those who led that particular thing?
Not really, because they were not able to be identified. Okay. It was at night. Of course, the teacher in duty came, and the Form 1s were able to gather themselves together, and of course, there was no major incidents at that time.
Okay.
Yes.
You mentioned that you are not able to complete school in that particular high school. What led to that, and where else did you go?
First of all, I would say is by the grace of God that I was in primary school, and I worked hand, and I went to a high school, and I was working hand, and due to the issues of the school fees, because I told you that we are born, we are 8. Some were in college. Some of my sisters and my brothers were in college, and and my parents could not really afford to pay for all of us.
Exactly.
And I was in a high school, a boarding school for that matter. And I remember every term I'll be chased home to go and for the school fees. The school was not cheap. Every time I would go home, probably in the midterm I would go home. And because I was a wise boy, I realized when I was already in Form 2 that I'm spending a lot of time going home because of the school fees.
Yeah.
And now, when I was now going to Form 3, my brother, who follows me, was now entering the Form 1.
Okay.
And I decided that if we don't do something, then one might leave the school.
Exactly.
So when I was in Form 3, I remember sharing with my parents, and I told them that now I want to come to a day school. And that was a major decision. And probably this one, I would say that it's not only that the adults can make some major decision. Even as you live, even for the young, they can make a decision in life.
Exactly.
I made a decision, and I told them I'm not going back to that school in Form 3. Because I realized that in Form 3, I needed to start preparing for myself for the KCSE. And now, 2 years, I needed time.
Yeah.
And now, instead of me going home every other time, I realized that I needed now to make a decision. I told my mom, my dad, no, I'm not going back to that school. It's good I was called there. That was a school of my choice. But now I had to go to a day school. And they agreed.
Did that affect your education in any way?
I think it a bit affected me by that time. But as I look at things now, probably it has not really affected me because I think I was more focused on what I wanted to do. I was more focused that I wanted to finish and get good grades. And it is because I loved education. Okay. Yes. Yeah, so it didn't really affect me so much. Though we're going, you can imagine being a boarder, you had passed all the students that you are with in primary school, the one went to the day school. Now you are coming and they will be seeing you there. Yeah. You can imagine that kind of life. So you have to be a very bold person. You have to be a person who is willing to take what it takes to do the things that can help you. Okay. Yes.
Now, after, how was it now for the next 2 years? Did you manage to get the good grade you had been eyeing? I'm a bit zilienda south.
One thing that I decided is that I will not go to the day school that was near our home, or rather the one that many students from the primary school had gone. And especially those who had not even gotten very good marks. I decided that I'll go to another day school a bit far where people don't know me. And I can tell you that the day school that I went, it was quite far, because from our home I would go like almost another 4-5 kilometers every day. And more importantly, there were 2 rivers. One river was called Gadaje, the other one was Kariara. And you'd cross the 2 rivers. Then you are climbing like a hill. Then you go towards that school. So sometimes the rivers, when there was a rainy season, they could get filled. And sometimes you go with a stick. You are trying to find out a place. In fact, there's a time I was trying to remember, what was I doing? Was I removing the shoes? Was I removing the socks? And I can tell you what you do. What we used to do is that you remove the socks, you remove the shoes, then you look for a place to cross the river. Once you cross the other side, you just put the shoes back, and then you continue with the journey.
Exactly.
Yes.
For 2 years.
For 2 years I did that.
To and fro.
To and fro I did that.
There was no opportunity to, like, you could have gotten like a small house close to the school to make it a little easier.
I told that I went to a day school because there was the issue of the school fees. And for me, I understood. Because there is one thing that my mom had said, that all her children must go to school.
Wow.
Unless you don't want. So she had devoted herself, because my dad, by that time was working. He was in Nairobi, he was working. So with his little salary, he would share as the schools. So my mom said that because he had not gotten chance to go to school, that all her children must go to school. So therefore, there was that determination for all of us. And during that time, sometimes we would go even for kibarua during the weekend.
Wow.
And during the school holidays, you would go to these small work within the neighborhood and all that. So there was no chance of even getting a house near the school, because how do you even get a school? Where do you get even a house? How do you get even another bed? And the food.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you have just thought about what you've said, how you used to work so that you could supplement even some of these costs. Do you feel like that added some value to you on your perspective of life, especially in terms of investment, in terms of not thinking that there's only one opportunity? And do you think that exposure was a good exposure for your life now, or the life that you are living now?
I would tell you that was a very good exposure. And because, like, for example, what used to happen is that during the weekend, because our shamba was not very big, in fact, our portion of the shamba, you have the three trees of coffee. The three you can count 1, 2, 3. Then that the land goes all the way to the river. So it was a small portion. So there was no much work. So what we used to do during, like, on Saturdays when we were not school, we would go to our neighbors who had some big land. We would help them now to till the coffee, and then we help them to take them to the factory, and that helps us. We would get some few coins, and that would go with my brothers and even with my mother.
Because there's a particular concept before we take a break.
Yes.
Where we have not exposed our children. We have shielded them too much.
Yes.
Until they just sit there. They don't have anything they are doing. And we fear like if they have a taste of some finances, they are just going to, go wayward and become something else. Do you feel like there's something we are denying our children by the exposure that you had?
I think the changes that are coming, and we need to continue talking to our children. And I remember every time we talk to our children, tell them that time as we used to do like this, we used to do like this. Help them. Sometimes help them to do certain things. Help them to understand that everything is not available. Even if you are able to take them to a good school, let them, when they come during the holiday, let them do some work. Take them to the village. Let them go to the farm. Help them to understand how they can do things. And I think having been brought up in the village, that has helped me, because I'm able to see things in a very different way. Unlike nowadays, where the children, they think every other thing is that they want things being done for them. That time there was no one to do work for you. You come from the school, you are supposed to go to fetch water. There was no tapped water. There was no tapped water. You are supposed to go and get some things for the cows. And you do all that. And remember, like myself, I was now in a boarding school, now I'm in a day school, and I'm doing this daily. You are walking to school and coming back. But even when you come, you must go to fetch water. You still have to work. Wow. And there was no option. You still have to work.
And you feel we had healthier bodies then?
Oh, yes. Yes, we were very healthy. We were very healthy by that time. Unlike nowadays, that there's no much work.
The school bus comes.
The school comes there, the gate, and comes you back there.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll take a short break, and we'll come and get to know more about our guest today, Mr. Njuguna. We'll get to know about his journey on his legal profession. As we take this break, this is Just Connect Online TV on your My Story show. Thank you.
Just Connect TV, streaming live. Just Connect TV is your entertainment and educational channel. We broadcast authentic content that will inspire, empower, and stir up the potential and positive energy in you. Just Connect TV, streaming live. Ever felt the need to learn how to play a musical instrument or improve your music skill and never knew where to go? Just Connect School of Music is the place to be. We offer professional training in music sight reading, piano, drums, guitar, saxophone, bass guitar, and vocal training. We are located at Eprin Square, 3rd floor, room 26, opposite Buruburu Police Station. Just Connect, building worship. Get yourself a high-quality branded hoodie, t-shirt, caps, umbrellas, you name it, we got it. You order, we deliver. Just Connect. Just Connect TV, streaming live.
Welcome back. This is My Story show on Just Connect TV. I'm joined with our guest today, Mr. Ndung'u Njuguna, and he's an advocate of the High Court. We were at a place we were talking about your school life. How did you complete your high school studies? Ama uliachia mahali ukachoka kuruka mito?
Yes, I finished the high school. I went to, maybe I need to mention that I went to a secondary school called Githembe Secondary School. That was in another division. I come from Kadara division, and now this was in Kegumo division. Actually, from our place, once you cross the river, you go to the next division. So we are at the tail end of Kadara division. Okay. So I went in that school, in Githembe Secondary School. And there I had said that when I was in the primary school, my brother was teaching there. He was teaching there as a trained teacher. Then later on, he went for a training as a trained teacher for the high school. He got a diploma. So another time, then I got him there. He also became my teacher there. Wow. In Form 3 and Form 4. Wow. He was my English teacher. Wow. Yes, and I believe that he will be watching this show. Mr. Waero, my good friend.
Thank you.
Yes.
And how was your performance in school now, considering all these challenges? Yes. That you are used to a more comfortable place in terms of availability of time, and now you are in a day school where you have to spend a lot of time which could have been spent for study time, and now you have to get your way to school. How was your performance?
Probably before I say the performance, I would like to say this, that in this secondary school, now I joined in Form 3. When I went there, from the previous high school, the boarding school, there was some subjects that I was doing, and I came in this secondary school, and I was told that I cannot do. For example, I was doing economics in Form 1 and Form 2. When I came to this school, they were doing commerce. Okay. So I had to switch from economics to commerce. Then in that other high school, I was not doing agriculture. I came to this school and I was told agriculture is compulsory. So I started now doing the agriculture all of a sudden. And you can imagine now that this is a compulsory. So and then that time there was the issue we used to call them pure sciences and the physical sciences. Yeah. In the boarding school, the high school, I was doing pure sciences. I was doing chemistry and I was doing physics on their own, each on their own. I came to this school and they saying, this school, we don't have the pure sciences. We are supposed to do physical science and biological science.
Wow.
Physical science is it is a chemistry integrated with the physics. Biological science is biology and I think chemistry together. I had to negotiate with the principal. Principal that at that time was called Mr. Chege. I had to negotiate with him. And I told him that since from Form 1 I had not done any physical sciences, it would be difficult for me to come and do the physical sciences here. I was not doing biology. I had left the biology when I was in Form 1. And I could not have managed to do it. So the school agreed that I continue doing the pure sciences
alone.
Luckily, they came another student who had come from another school called Mudidi Secondary School. So he had come there, and he was doing the pure sciences. So you can imagine the two of us who are doing the pure sciences. That is the chemistry on its own and physics on its own. And the rest of the students were doing biological and physical sciences. What I used to do is that during the holidays, because I am good at making friends, I am good at connecting. And I thank God that today we are in a Just Connect TV. I'm good in connecting with friends. The previous high school that I was in, I had friends. So what used to happen, like during the weekend, I would go there as a visitor. And I'll be allowed to get in. I'll get the materials that they had run. Then I will come here and I will discuss with the teacher, and we will do the samples, especially for the chemistry in the lab. That was used to do during the holidays. I would look for my friends, visit them, find out how they were doing, so I could get some materials and I would study. Coming back to what you have asked me about how did I perform, I did well. And when we did the KCSE, and probably I would also say this, that I had a friend who was coming from the village, who was also in that school, my good friend called Patrick Muiruri. And we used to study with him. A very good gentleman who would study the whole night. Sometimes I would get very tired and he would tell me we continue, and we continue. So when we did the Form 4, I was the second in that school. Wow. He was the first one. I was the second.
Wow. Wow.
So I did very well. And unfortunately, that time, the pass mark for going to campus were very high. So I missed the campus with 1 point.
Wow, one only.
1 point. And I could not go. And he was called.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
We'll come back to how you ended up in being an advocate, considering all those challenges. Looking at your spiritual life, how was it? You mentioned that your family was a Christian, had a Christian foundation. At what point did you get born again, and how was it? Or were you the naughtiest of the boys?
My life when I was a small boy, I told you that there was a grandmother, my grandmother, maternal grandmother, who was living near the school. So at time I would live in her house when I was in primary school. So she was a Catholic. So we would go with her to church, and I almost became an altar boy.
Wow.
And when now towards me finishing the primary school, I left the Catholic church and I joined the ACK church where my parents were going.
Okay.
And I continued there. And I remember very well that in terms of the Christian background, when I was now in the high school, when I came back to the village to go to a day school, I started now being more serious with Christianity. Because one thing I realized is that now I had a lot of time in the village, and because I was focused, I did not want to intermingle with some things within the village like the young people who are like drinking and misbehaving and doing all manner of things. I was busy with the church, the ACK church. But coming to salvation, I remember very well when I was in Form 3. There was on one Saturday in August in 1994. That Saturday there was a function in our neighbor's place. And that time in the village there was a lot of Moratina and all that. And there was a party. And on Sunday, we are supposed to have come from the church. Remember I was in Form 3?
Yeah.
And we are supposed to have come out from the church, come to the party, probably have the Moratina and all that. But that Sunday, my sister invited me to their church. My elder sister, Priscilla, Mama Carol, she invited me to their church. And I went there, and the pastor preached. And after preaching, the pastor asked, who want to get saved? And I remember that I was shy, I did not raise my hand. They continued, the church service. After that, there are announcements, there are many other activities that are going on.
Yeah.
But before they said the grace, I raised my hand that I want to get saved. And that is how my life as a born-again Christian started. Way back in Form 3, in August 1994.
Wow.
And I gave my life to Christ. And from there, I continued. Of course, I went back to my church, the ACK, but now as a serious born-again Christian. Yes.
I know you are a passionate evangelist. How were you able to have this passionate evangelism even at that particular time after you met Christ?
Remember, I told you that I was in ACK. I was a reader.
Okay.
And I remember when around that time, when you were in high school, some people came for a crusade in the village. Bishop Gishege and the rest. And when they came, and I really liked them because the way they were evangelizing about even being filled with the Holy Ghost and being committed. And we joined as a ACK. And that's where now my passion as an evangelist and speaking the word of God started.
Wow.
That's way back in the village.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So you are able to evangelize even Ama.
Yes. It's good. It is important to note that from me, other people in the family, those who are not gotten born again, they got born again. One I would say is my father, my late father. May his soul rest in eternal peace. When I used to go home, evangelize to him, and one time he called me and told me that he was listening to a radio, and he decided to give his life to Christ. And I remember him come, because he used to come to Nairobi. He told me he is going to come to Nairobi, and we went to one of the elders within the church, that time in the full gospel churches, now currently Reverend Muthiora, and we prayed together.
Wow.
So my family, most of them have now come to Christ after I gave my life to Christ.
Wow.
So evangelism, I did it within and without.
Exactly.
Yes.
Going back to now your career path, did you have any vision you had? Because you are passionate in your studies, you could do anything to remain in school, whatever it took. What was driving you? What did you want to become?
I think I said that when I was in the primary school, I was very good in the mathematics. And I thought now, being good in the mathematics, then I could have become an accountant. And all I thought was either being an accountant or being a teacher. Those were the two things that I was thinking at. But I was looking at an accountant because an accountant would be in an office. more than a teacher who be maybe posted in a certain village. So I really wanted to become an accountant when I was growing up. And of course, in the village, there was no many other professionals. I could not hear about being the doctors or lawyers. So therefore, I could not really say the things that I could see.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there is very critical. That exposure helps somebody to be even able to pick on a particular career. Do you think it has a place, the exposure to different opportunities? Does it build a desire for somebody to become something, or is it only a matter of talent that you have?
I can tell you, you can only become to the point that you can see.
Wow.
Of course, the God himself in his precious ways can help you to navigate to other things. But if you are not able to see far, you cannot become that thing that is that far.
Wow.
So you are able to become what you are able to see. For example, if someone is exposed to certain ideas, he can become anything. But if you have not been exposed, you only become the things that you are able to see. And I think it's important for us that our children and our brothers, our young brothers, our sisters, we expose them to different things so that they are able to see, to have that mindset that is not narrow but wide.
Exactly.
So I can tell you that you can become something depending on how you are exposed. If you are not exposed, it is not easy to become. You can stick to something, but by God's grace, probably you can become. But it's very important for us to expose our children and our young brothers, our sisters, and help them so that they are able to know how to choose even what to become.
Exactly.
Yes.
Going further on your journey, did you stay back in the village, or did you end up going somewhere else now that you could not be able to get to the university because of that difference of the mark? How did you now start? What happened to your career journey and your education going forward?
Maybe before I answer that, there's one point that I probably would add on about the exposure. And I would say, in this life that we are in today, you'll find somebody who is a teacher and you'll get his or her children are teachers.
Yeah.
They take the same career path. You'll get someone who is a lawyer and you'll get the children wanting to become lawyers. They mentor them. So when they grow up and you go to functions, so the junior who is a lawyer, you see a doctor and the children want to become doctors.
Exactly.
Because if you are proud of what you do, your children, they may take that.
Wow.
So it's very important to expose them, and that's the one way of exposing them. Whatever you do you like it? So you see your children following you.
Exactly.
In that. Back to your question about whether I remained in the village. It was a dream for every boy in the village to come to the city.
Wow.
And I was one of them. And for me, I really wanted to come to Nairobi. And I remember when I did my KCSE in December, in November, and that time January came. My elder sister, who we go to church together, Catherine, Mama Nyambura, she was in Nairobi. And my father had just gotten the retirement.
Okay.
Now was coming to the village. And now for my sister, she requested me now I can come to Nairobi. And at that time, to come and look for kibarua or job. And that's a journey in 1996. I came to Nairobi, January. I was here in Nairobi
Okay.
to come and look for work.
Yeah.
because now I'd finished the Form 4. I was not called to go to the university because of one point. And money was not readily available to take me to a college. Yeah. So I decided I would come, look for some work, and probably later I would decide on what to do. Yes.
Wow. And did you get the work? Because Nairobi, the way it is sometimes.
Nairobi.
Did you get an opportunity?
Nairobi, first of all, what happened is that when I came to Nairobi in January, and now back, I came to Nairobi in January. I had heard about I wanted some Pentecostal church, first of all, to be attending the service. And I came to Nairobi. I was looking for a job. I was staying with my sister and my aunt also, because when I came to Nairobi, my sister got a child. So even helping me to go and look for a job, it was not possible. So I would wake up in the morning. That time I was staying with my aunt in Bahati. I'd wake up in the morning, go to industrial area from one side. I don't know how it is, which road it is. I would start from one side. What I used to do, I would mark. As I walk, I would mark the roads, I would mark some things so that I'm able to come back. Exactly. So I would go look for a job and I come back in the evening. Sometimes during lunchtime, if I have not gotten any kibarua, then I would pass through my sister, I'll get food, then in the evening I'll go to my aunt. I did that every day. I did that every day, looking for a job. And I can tell you, for 3 months, I didn't get even one.
And there was no, like, you are not choosing.
I'm not choosing. For me, I'm looking for any job. What is the one that is available? I was not choosing. I wanted a job. I'm in the city. So at the work, I did not get. But I remember one time after 3 months, I got one job just for about 1 hour. Somewhere here in Lugaruga, in a company, I think as for the brush, I can't remember the name, but I think it's still there. Sometimes I pass there, I drive there, and I look at it, and I got a job. For 1 hour. Some 2 ladies came. They had a pickup, this Datsun, the small pickup, and they wanted that company used to is for making the brushes, the shoe blades, and all that. So they are still the woods that people come and buy. They put the pickup that they got to use it for firewood and all that. So the pickup came, and I was there, and I was called to help them now load them to the vehicle and all that. And I remember I was paid 20 shillings. That was the note of the Kenyatta that time. That's the only job I remember until today that I got. I had gone to the companies, like the one sells the biscuits. I had worked the enterprise, the whole enterprise.
Oh dear.
And because I did not know many people, I used to go and we used to go and stand at the gate. We are so many. You wait. You are praying that today you are going to get, and I didn't get any job. And that time, I remember that time. Now I was praying that I get a job, and I did not get. So I didn't get. So what happened is that at one point now, I think in my 5th month, I was now started almost getting tired. And I think it's not easy for me to get tired, even to today. If I want to get something, I'll go for it.
Yeah.
No one will be able to put me down. So that time, I remember very well that I was now almost like giving up. And I called. I talked to my sister. And I communicated to my parents. That time there was no phones.
Mobile phones.
So I communicated to my dad, and I said, now that there is no work in Nairobi, can I come back to the village? And I thought probably I should go help them, because now the other people are not available, they were in school and all that. And my dad, what he did, he told me that I will not send fare to you. What I'll do, I'll pay for the vehicle. Because there was the vehicles that were operating from country bus to the village. I'll pay for it. So wewe ukienda, utapanda tu, utafanya nini? Utafika nyumbani. And that time we used to go to a fellowship. That time I was praying to God to get a job. And I had joined a fellowship in a place called Makongeni with some other people. And we were praying. So the day my dad informed me, I got the information that the vehicle had been paid, is the day I got my first job.
Wow.
And how I got it is that one of my cousins, Mr. Mushiri Mugushia, he came and he said, there's some job and I don't know whether you can take it. I told him, I want to get any job. So I was waiting. So he told me, then what you do, you come to town, such a building, and you come for the interview. That's how I got my first job. Yes.
What was that job?
That job, the company used to be called Ebapran Consultants. And when we went for an interview, we were many. There was some from 6 guys. And you are told the work that is available is work of being like a security guard, or being a parking person within a parking where people come, they park their cars. So your work is looking after the cars. And as you can see, I came with a photo that it is here, where I was working with my colleagues.
Yeah.
And I hope that it can be seen. The cameraman can see it well, can zoom it, because it is important. Yes, this is where I was working. This is the first job that I got. These are my colleagues that we are working with. Yeah. One is called Washiro. The other one is called Isaiah. We have Isaiah, and we have Rukaria. And in fact, one I can't even remember his name now. We were working with them in that parking in town. So this is where my first job that I got. I remember very well that one of the guys that we went together for our interview, he said he cannot do this work because this work was below his qualification. For me, I was willing to take any job. It's like I was said, God, whichever job comes, you open the door, I am in. Yeah. So I went for that job and I was working there. That's where I worked. And that time, I had not even gone for my results for officially, though I had known what I had gotten in KCSE. But there was one man there. And this is now my journey as a lawyer started. There was one man who was working in this parking. Who used to park a car here in this parking. And this gentleman used to come. And for me, I'm just from Form 4. I would speak a bit of English. And the gentleman would ask me, young man, why are you here? What are you doing? Why are you not in college? And I would tell him that I'm not able to go to college for now, but I'll go one time. And that guy I still remember, I'm one person who likes vehicles. And he used to own a Volvo. I still remember even the number plates very, very, very well. That time it was a bit about KXX there, all the numbers. And it was a brewing color. And this gentleman was a Ugandan. He used to come back there, talk to me. I didn't know who he was. But one day, he introduced himself to me that he is a lawyer. I think either it's because I was brought up in the village. Even when somebody says a lawyer, I could not understand exactly what is that? A lawyer? Because I had not seen a lawyer before in the village. Village, there was no TV, just some radios. I think he told me what he does, And we continued talking. And after some time, he told me that he's going to open an office and he want to go with me. So that I can work with him. And one day he told one of my supervisors called Mr. Njuguna that I'm going to go with this gentleman. I'm going to give him a job. Me, I'm a risk taker.
Yeah.
So, though I have a job here, and this is a person who has told me he's going to go with me, he's a Ugandan, he's not a Kenyan, I was risking. I would go with him. So, he told me he's opening the office. I went to see. And I don't know, even that time, I don't know whether it was resignation or what. I just left the job. And I joined this one. And because I was very open, I told him what I was getting. And he just added something small to what I was getting. I went there. The kind of work that I started, I became the cleaner. I became the messenger to take the letters. That time I did not know Nairobi well. I started knowing the Nairobi
during
Nairobi well that time.
And how long had you worked with this logistic company?
The company,
yeah.
The one over the parking.
Yeah.
I'd worked there for 5 months, for about 4 months,
okay.
4 months,
okay.
4 months, because it was still the same
so
year.
you'd call this like one of your place like connected you with your destiny. You would have missed it completely.
I would have missed it. In fact, I think one can miss a destiny if you know what the Lord is doing for you. You can actually miss, because this is one place where a guy who was from 6 AD cannot work. I would have not met a lawyer probably.
Exactly.
So this is one place that's connected me with a destiny. And when I say it, I am very proud of it. Because that's where I started.
Exactly.
And
now you have a bigger panel, a wider panel of the options you can now take. Besides the teacher and the accountant, now you have a
yes.
lawyer on your plate now.
I have a lawyer in the plate.
How did you start? How long did you work with him?
This gentleman, I worked with him from now 1961, the end of the year. And I worked with him 1997. And now, he trusted me a lot. I don't know what he saw in me. He saw maybe a good young man. So I now came from being a messenger to a clerk. That time the courts used to go to Sharia house. That's where the courts used to be. So I would be sent to court. I don't know how to go to court. I got another guy who was working in the next office, a guy called Joseph Otieno, who was a clerk. He helped me to know how to go to the registry, take a document. That's how I started learning slowly. So I worked with him 1997, 1998. I was working with him. Now I became like his personal assistant. By the time now we are coming to 1998, he could send me to the bank, carry the money, bring the money. There's a times you'd even forget he has money in the wallet, in the drawer. So I would tell him there's some money here which you have forgotten. And I think he really trusted me. I worked with him all the way coming to the year 2002.
Wow.
2002.
How did your interest of becoming a lawyer, did it start developing at this point you're interacting with now the system?
One thing I would say is that in 1998 when there was a bomb blast, because our office was in Moi Avenue and Shankada's house, and that morning my boss had written a check and he wanted to send me to go and cash it at National Bank that was in the development house, which was now opposite the American embassy. And somehow the check got lost in the morning. Early in the morning, the check got lost. What happened is that he wrote a check and then he forgot. I think when he was tearing off some papers, he also tore the check and put it in the dustbin. So we are busy looking for the check. By the time and he was saying like he had given me, I did not have the check. So you are looking for the check. Then what happened is that at one point I decided, let's look now for it, even the dustbin. Then we got it. By the time he was now writing another check that I can go to cash, that's when the bomb blast happened. I am saying this because going to development house, I would come the same way Moi Avenue, then cross. Exactly. Probably, and I would think not probably, God was protecting me, even for the check to get lost. Because that thing happened in the office, all of us, we fell down, but later on we were able to get out of the building. Back to your question about how did I develop my
interest in law.
My interest in law. Now remember, I have gotten someone who has taken me into his office. He is a lawyer. And I told you, if you are exposed in something, you are likely to become that something. Yeah. When I was growing up, I wanted to be an accountant. But now I've met another person I was liking. The lawyers, they are putting on the suits. They are arguing. Now I could hear him arguing in a court. So I developed the interest of becoming a lawyer. But I was still feeling being a lawyer is so high, and where I am, like I cannot become. Exactly. I did not know how God was taking me through. But one thing I knew, if you dream, even if your dream is so small, you can make it valid in life. Amen. So what happened is that I remember very well, in the year 2000, the job was not going very well in the law firm, and I decided I want to do something to do with law. And I knew, being a lawyer, you needed high marks from the high school, which I did not have. So I decided I'll start with a diploma. Wow! This is my decision that I was making, and I remember I looked for one time I saw in the newspaper about advertisement of about a college called Kenya School of Professional Studies, KSPS. And I read that they were offering diploma in law, and I knew this one I'm going to get. And I remember sharing with my boss, and he was telling me I go and do the one of the insurance instead of doing the law. But for me, my mind was focused. I wanted to do law, to get a diploma at least, to start with. Exactly. So what happened in that December? I went to the village. But I came back earlier. After the new year, I came back immediately because I wanted to come and register. So I came and paid. That time our office, we had shifted from town to some place in the industrial area. And Dar es Salaam Road. So you can imagine, I would go to work, leave the work, come to town, go to school in Parklands, then come back to town, then come to Umoja. Wow. So it was a journey. Yeah. So I registered for the diploma. So when I registered for the diploma, so by the time we started the office, people were opening up, me, I was in school. Wow. And I was supposed to go for 2 years.
Did it affect you, now that you are a student and also employed, did it affect your work in any way, considering the demands of school?
One thing that is clear is that when I was in the primary school, I was going to school and I was doing other duties. Even when I was in high school. I think I had gotten used to.
So your level of multitasking?
It was not a problem. It is not a problem even now. I'm able to multitask. Wow. In things.
And you can attribute that to the way you are brought up?
Yes, the way I was brought up. Yes, I can attribute that to the way I was brought up. Yes.
So how was your journey through college up to where you are?
I am sure that my wife is watching, and it's good to say this, that when now I decided to go to to college, I was in friendship with my wife, and I told her, now I think you allow me, you wait a bit.
Now you are the one seeking to be waited upon. It happens the other way around.
We have to really work out this thing. I need to be in school. I need to get a diploma. Then we can continue the plans for marriage. And I want to really thank her because she accepted.
Wow.
And she actually waited.
Wow.
And now back to the journey, being in school, in the college. I did well for the first year. The second year, I finished. And that time, because I was working, I was able to pay for myself, the school fees. It was not cheap, but I was able to pay for myself. And I got an upper credit.
Wow.
Wow. Diploma in upper credit. And diploma in law for upper credit. And we graduated, and that was my first graduation, which I called the village. They came,
and it was a big celebration.
And we did it at the church compound, the Full Gospel Church of Kenya, Buruburu. But maybe there's something else that I should mention, that when I got the first job, how I came to be a member of Full Gospel Churches, there was a lady who used to park there from the church. And what happened is that when I was looking for a church, the first church I went, I was directed from my auntie's place. They said there was a church around there in that side of Buruburu, Jericho. The first church I added to was, I think, AIC church in Jericho. But when I went there, I felt like I still needed to look for another church. So the next Sunday, I walked from Bahati all the way to Buruburu, and when I came to Buruburu, I saw Full Gospel Churches of Kenya. So I entered. And what happened is, I met that lady. I saw her there. She used to come and park. Then I saw her there. Then I said, then this must be a good church for me.
And you became a member?
I became a member for that church.
Wow.
I became a member for that church.
Yeah. Now, were you involved in service? Because your ministerial duties, what was your part? How did you enter into ministry? Well, after now discovering this would be your home church.
First of all, during the time, I was involved. I was involved in that time. The youth, we were very vibrant. I was involved in the youth. I was involved in the intercessory, coming for prayers, and maybe I would have mentioned the lady. She was actually the chair lady. I think that time she was the chair lady, Mrs. Lagisho. She used to park in town. So when I saw her in church, I felt, now this is the place I want to be. And we became very good friends. So I was involved in church, intercessory. I was involved in evangelism. I even went for a full course of discipleship. I went for a full course for the it used to be called the ministry, I think, the Life Ministry. I went for a full course.
Wow.
And it used to be very serious. That time, we were being taught by teachers, Akina Rosina, Akina Reverend Grace Maribe, Akina, I think, Botella, they were teaching, Akina, now current Bishop Boro, they were teaching us for those classes. And even after that, I went for a TOT, that is trainers, the trainers of trainers. I went for the TOT, and I can tell you that that course, up to today, has helped me. I still have my manuals in my library that I can refer to. And that course, it really built me in the life of Christ in terms of the ministry, because you are being taught about how to evangelize, how to read the Word of God, how to study the Bible, how to witness, the 4 spiritual rules, how to witness. And that's where I learned.
Wow.
all those things. And I was involved in the church.
Wow.
Finally, I was involved in ushering. All through, I was an usher
And
in
you
the
are
church.
an active member.
And I was an active member
Wow.
of the church.
Wow.
Yes.
Join us on our part 2 story with Mr. James Ndung'u as we get to know more about his journey on his legal profession. Bye-bye.
Just Connect TV, streaming live. Just Connect TV is your entertainment and educational channel. We broadcast authentic content that will inspire, empower, and stir up the potential and positive energy in you. Just Connect TV, streaming live. Ever felt the need to learn how to play a musical instrument or improve your music skill and never knew where to go? Just Connect School of Music is the place to be. We offer professional training in music sight reading, piano, drums, guitar, saxophone, bass guitar, and vocal training. We are located at Eprin Square, 3rd floor, room 26, opposite Buruburu Police Station. Just Connect, building worship. Just Connect TV, streaming live.